Okay, it's 6:00. Okay. I'd like to call order the November 12th, 2018 BC Board of Education meeting. Roll call, please.
Mr. Abbott?
Present.
Mr. Bratton?
Present.
Mr. Johnson?
Present.
Mr. Millis?
Present.
Ms. Parker?
Present.
Please join me for the pledge of allegiance.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
First time. Okay, number 4, approval of agenda. Are there any changes?
Nothing I'm aware
I don't see, I checked to see if there was an addendum, I did fine. Number 5 then, approve, we still need a motion. Motion to approve? So moved. Thank you. Second, thank you. Is there any discussion? Seeing none, roll call please.
Mr. Abbott?
Yes.
Ms. Parker?
Yes.
Mr. Bratton?
Yes.
Mr. Johnson?
Yes.
Mr. Millis?
Yes. Number 5, approve the minutes of the following October 5th, 2018 regular meeting. Are there any questions about that? Seeing none, is there a motion to approve?
So moved.
Thank you. Is there a second?
Second.
Thank you. Roll call please.
Mr. Bratton?
Yes.
Mr. Johnson?
Yes.
Mr. Abbott?
Yes.
Ms. Parker?
Yes.
Mr. Millis?
Yes. And number 6, we have public participation.
We have tonight with us one of our 2 school nurses for the district. Nicole Bigham is with us. She's in charge of overseeing the K2 primary and the 3-4 intermediate school and all of our health services there. So Nicole, welcome. Thanks for being here.
Yeah, thank
And
you.
Look forward to a little update.
Okay.
Are you related to him somehow?
She claims it, yeah.
She claims.
All right, so
Okay.
besides seeing the kids every day that come in that are just sick, we are helping, Marian and I are helping with PD Day on November 26th. Marian actually has been in contact with the person for the Stop the Bleed, so our staff's gonna get trained on that. And then I will be teaching how to use the AED and the CPR to the faculty that did not get it last year and any new staff that we have. So that's the 26th. I'm also going to, I did this last year for Health and Wellness Day for the 4th graders. I taught them hands-only CPR. So I plan on doing that again this year on our Health and Wellness Day, which is the end of May. And I'm also going to teach our 2nd graders hands-only CPR. Marian and I both serve on the Health and Wellness committees in our buildings. I'm not sure exactly what their big plans are in the middle of high school, but I know at the primary building, we are working on, every quarter we do something different. The first quarter we are working on, we're going to teach hand washing to the little kids, making sure that they're washing their hands, hopefully help keep our numbers down of the sicknesses. And then we're also going to we're doing like Try It Tuesdays where the kids eat something different that's healthy that they might not normally eat at home. We're also working on dental hygiene and healthy brains in the kids, just giving them different things that they can do. We just got back from a conference. We went to a conference Thursday just on how to improve our effectiveness as a school nurse, just different strategies that we can use in the schools. We also, Marianne was able to get tower gardens for our high school. I believe she got one for the middle school, and we already had one in our elementary school, so our kindergartners can kind of watch that grow, and they actually can eat right off of it as well. And then we work with the health department weekly. We get updates from the health department, the Department of Nursing, just like the different flu numbers that we're seeing. And we work with her if we're seeing, you know, a lot of flu or pneumonia in our buildings, what we can do to help prevent the spread of that. So that's about it. You know, we've had a few emergencies this year. We've had to call the ambulance a couple times, which is better than our normal at this point, so we're doing pretty good, I think.
Much better than last year.
Yes.
Emergencies as far as broken bones.
Yeah.
We had EpiPen, kid had an allergic anaphylactic reaction, and then actually a parent that came in needed some help, so.
Previous year, we had a lot of broken arms. and
Yes,
wrists.
yeah, about 10
On the playground.
So we're good, we're only like, in my buildings, I think 3, so it's better. But we didn't have to call anyone on that, just their parent.
Thank you. When you work with the kids on healthy choices, make sure you pull my 3 girls and
Yeah.
have a long talk with them.
Yeah.
It's not working for me at home.
It's not my house either, hopefully,
There you
someone
go.
will listen.
Does anyone have any questions? Do you have any at their school nurse? Okay, fine. Number 7 then, treasurer's recommendations and reports. Mr. Baker.
Thank you. Item A is approve the October financial statements. Total expense for the month was $11,970,466.48. And of that was a little over $8.23 million in SCOIC expenses. The number looks a little high for October, but that was because we made several debt payments, including our first payment on our new bonds that were issued. If you look at page 14 of your electronic copy, you have the basic executive summary that's in every financial report. Some good news here with our second quarter income tax for fiscal 19, again on page 14 of the electronic copy. The gross total for this collection was 9.67% higher than that same collection in the previous year. That amount was a little over $82,000 higher than what we had forecasted. So I always go back to this green report, but it's so key in terms of how does the actual activity, the revenues, expenditures compare to our estimates, and that's that line 101.030. You can see that difference of 82,201 for the actual estimate. Some other good news, we've kind of gotten back in line with our expenditures for timing purposes, and at this point we are $12,149 under budget, so we're right at where we need to be at this time. Certainly that can change tomorrow, but as of October 31, we're in line with the budgeted amounts. One key thing I want to call the board's attention to, and this, I will continue to expand this, and you will get more and more reports here as we get further into the construction and making expenditures and whatnot. But on page 18 of the electronic copy, it's a pink salmon colored report, if you will. These are the investments that we've made from the construction proceeds. So this is separate from our general fund investments. This is separate from the consortium investments. This is a third pool of investments, if you will. And you can see the total in Fifth Third, if you remember the proceeds of the bond issue, were $30 million. We felt comfortable investing $25 million into treasury notes that are held through our Fifth Third investment management. The difficulty at this point is, and Mr. Hahn can attest to this, we don't have a construction draw schedule where we're going to know we're going to need this much to pay, this much at this point. So you can't take too much of a risk with liquidity before we know when we're going to have to make payments to the architect, the construction manager, some of the trades that we're going to have. So these, if you'll notice the maturity dates of these, I've staggered them. Basically, the first one matures in January of 19. There's a February, March, April, May, and June. So again, we're being able to hopefully meet our liquidity while also getting a little bit of interest on the proceeds. The total interest that we've already earned is over 53,531. It's highlighted there in orange. So that money will have to be reinvested into the project, but it's again represents amount above and beyond the 30 million that we can have to invest back in the project. That actually by law it has to be spent on what was on the ballot language. So all these interest proceeds will be put back into the project. Any questions on the October financial statements or the checks written during the month?
No questions? If seeing none, is there a motion to approve A?
So moved.
Thank you. Second, thank you. Roll call, please.
Ms. Parker?
Yes.
Mr. Abbott?
Yes.
Mr. Bratton?
Yes.
Mr. Johnson?
Yes.
Mr. Mills?
Yes.
Item 2 is approve the following fund-to-fund transfer from the general fund to the debt service energy conservation, $36,937.50. We did an energy conservation project back in 2012. The savings each year amount to about $100,000 a year. You take those savings and pay down the debt, but it's still a net gain for the district. But anytime transferring from one fund to another requires board approval per policy. So,
Any questions on B? Seeing none, is there a motion to approve? I'll second this one. Roll call, please.
Mr. Abbott?
Yes.
Mr. Millis?
Yes.
Mr. Bratton?
Yes.
Mr. Johnson?
Yes.
Ms. Parker?
Yes.
Item C, approve a resolution adopting the plan under the Ohio Public Employees Deferred Compensation administered by Ohio Public Employees Deferred Compensation for participation by eligible employees of the Bloom Carroll Local School District. By law, whenever an individual requests the district offer this, you are required to, and we've had a request this year, so asking for board approval.
So is this better than a 401k or 4?
I think it's very similar. With the other investment program we have is a 403B. They're very similar.
Okay, any other questions other than mine? Seeing none, is there a motion to approve?
So moved.
Is there a second? Second. Thank you. Roll call, please.
Mr. Bratton?
Yes.
Mr. Abbott?
Yes.
Mr. Johnson?
Yes.
Ms. Parker?
Yes.
Mr. Mellis?
Yes.
Item D, approve a resolution authorizing the purchase of competitive retail natural gas service from the lowest responsible bid submitted to Meta. This will be for the period commencing July 2020, terminating no longer than June of 2025. We do purchase our natural gas with a large cooperative of other school districts. Get very favorable pricing doing it this way, but you've got to approve these contracts well in advance. So this would lock us in to that bid for the next 5 years.
So I take it ME stands for Metropolitan Education and the TA is?
Oh, you asked me too quickly. You remember, Sean?
Yeah, it was,
Uh,
it used to be,
MEC,
MEC, right? Okay,
Metropolitan
that's all I was
Education
wondering.
Council,
It's still the same. Okay. that's-
Technical Association maybe, or that's actually TRECA. They merged.
Oh.
into Meta.
Yeah, it may not even be an acronym at this point.
Okay, any questions? Okay. Motion to approve? So moved. Thank you. Second? Second. Thank you. Roll call, please.
Mr. Johnson?
Yes.
Mr. Abbott?
Yes.
Mr. Bratton?
Yes.
Ms. Parker?
Yes.
Mr. Millis?
Yes.
In E, we're very happy to be able to recognize the following donations to Bloom Carroll Local School District has listed, both to the BC Athletic Fund and then Lithopolis United Methodist Church and Lithopolis United Methodist Women had done a fundraiser and donated money to help pay delinquent lunch charges for our students.
Any questions with E? Seeing none, is there a motion to approve that?
So moved.
Thank you. Is there a second?
Second.
Thank you. Roll call, please.
Ms. Parker?
Yes.
Mr. Bratton?
Yes.
Mr. Abbott?
Yes.
Mr. Johnson?
Yes.
And Mr. Millis?
Yes. Number 8 is old business.
That was you.
Oh, okay. Okay, and it is listed. Page 38.
The school calendar.
38 number.
Yeah, 39. Here it is. Again, we had a hearing, last month. You have to act within 30 days, or hold a hearing within 30 days of approval, and no later than 30 days. So that's why we need to act tonight. We worked with the Teachers Association, administration, looked at different options with the board as well. It does bump things back just a little bit to start the year. We still get out at a reasonable time in May, just after Memorial Day. It actually works better with our high school exam schedule as well. It does include a 2-hour early dismissal at the end of the school year on the last day, which is very difficult sometimes for the K-8 population, when you're just kind of herding the kids until 2:10, so, or 3:30. So there is some mercy there. We have 3 PD days built in, and they're kind of front loaded, which makes sense with different programs and trainings that you need to provide. But overall, I think it's a good school calendar. So it's, we've been getting some complaints about starting too early, and I would certainly agree with that too. So I think this is a good compromise. Mark, you got the policies there. 8B.
We approve the following policies for a second reading, and we are voting on this. So number 1 is minutes. Number 2, organizational chart. Number 3, budget planning. Number 4, administration of federal grant funds. Number 5, purchasing. Number 6, petty cash accounts. Number 7, bidding requirements. Number 8, purchasing procedures. DJFR, purchasing procedures. Number 10, credit cards. Number 11, credit cards. 12, first aid. Is that supposed to have an E on the end? Just, okay. 13, food sales standards. Number 14, wellness program. Number 15, personnel policy reserves. Staff gifts and solicitations. Number 17, online fundraising campaigns, crowdfunding. Number 18, professional staff contracts and compensation plans for teachers. Professional staff contracts and compensation plan for administrators. 20, professional staff hiring. 21, support staff contracts and compensation plans. Number 22, reading skills assessments and intervention. 23, reading skills assessments and intervention. 24, student fundraising activities. 25, online fundraising campaigns and crowdfunding. 26, interscholastic athletics. 27, formation and retention of students. Interdistrict open enrollment for 28 and 29. I'm not saying that 29 is intra-district open enrollment. Number 30, student absences and excuses. 31, hazing and bullying. Number 32, weapons in the schools. Number 33, student suspension, which probably will become less, maybe with some.
Yeah, especially K to 3.
K to 3. 34, emergency removal of a student. 35, student expulsion. 36, physical examinations of students. 37, positive behavioral interventions and supports. 38, community use of school premises. And 39, community use of school premises. Are there any questions with all of those different ones? And I noticed, Rob, that the ones we have to do for the next time is a very small one.
Much small.
Much smaller.
Should only take 10 minutes.
Have 10 minutes on to do it. Okay, are there any questions at all? If so, ask Sean. I didn't bring this with me. Okay, seeing none, is there a motion to approve?
So moved.
Thank you. I'll go ahead and second since I'm on that committee. Roll call, please.
Mr. Johnson?
Yes.
Mr. Millis?
Yes.
Mr. Abbott?
Yes.
Mr. Bratton?
Yes.
Ms. Parker?
Yes.
9, superintendent's recommendations and reports.
Okay, 9A, superintendent's report, just a few things. Again, just want to publicly, on behalf of the board and the school district, thank all of our veterans for their service to our country. As you know, yesterday was Veterans Day. Today was recognized by most government agencies.
Yeah, Joe, I'm still waiting for your card. Thank you.
Yeah, I would like to, I do have on here, I would like to thank Mr. Millis. I believe he is
Oh, I was just joking with Joe.
the only veteran of the group, unless I'm missing somebody. Mr. Millis was a member of the Army National Guard.
I was.
Yeah, so thank
Went
you.
halfway through OCS when I came to my senses.
Yeah,
So I
thanks,
didn't
Mark.
want to be in office. I didn't need the 20-year pension that day.
We had some great Veterans Day programs. The primary school had a very nice program over here at the middle school with veterans being invited in. The intermediate school used the Lithopolis United Methodist Church for their assembly, and again, also invited veterans to the school. And the middle school held a program as well. The high school handled it through some lessons within each grade level about Veterans Day and their contributions. But I was able to get to 3 of those and was very impressed with our students and our staff, and thankful that the veterans were here. Today, the Capitol Conference is going on. It started yesterday, today, and tomorrow. Travis and I were up there today. A couple board members were there as well. We had the Student Achievement Fair was taking place, and we had our middle school programming or robotics club that was up there, and our high school career exploration course with Mrs. Dinsmore. They were up there as well. It was nice. Stephanie Dodd, one of the members of the State Board of Education, stopped by to recognize our students and provide an award. We put some things on social media with our students that were participating up there today. There were some good sessions that several different board members or treasurer, superintendent attended today, so we picked up some good things there to talk about. Academically, we had the 3rd grade reading guarantee that took place at the end of October. That is a 3rd grade assessment that unfortunately 3rd graders have to pass in order to be promoted into 4th grade. And that is done currently all on the computer, and we did not have any issues. We tested 100% of our students, and I will be asking the board in April to approve a resolution that next year there is an option to do paper pencil for the 3rd grade reading guarantee. And I will be making that recommendation in the spring, per the principal and myself. In the, what else? Parent-teacher conferences were held on November 1st and November 8th. We had 812 conferences between the high school, middle school, intermediate school, and primary school. We are looking into, and at this point are committed to starting to schedule K-12 parent-teacher conferences online now. Most school districts are doing that, and we have found a very, very affordable option that is user-friendly, and we're going to look at exploring with that for the February, late January and February conferences, and we will communicate with our families. There will be a paper option available if somebody still needs that, but we're hoping that it also increases participation and the convenience of not having to depend on your child to bring a form home, to send it back, to go back and forth between the building secretary, trying to coordinate schedules. So we will be looking at an online option for parent-teacher conferences in the near future. Congratulations to all of our fall athletes and all of our students in extracurricular programs. We had a very successful fall here, not only with extracurriculars, but co-curriculars as well. Our band had an outstanding fall, hosted a very nice BC Classic. But football, girls golf, tennis, soccer, band, cheerleaders, volleyball, cross country, all very successful. It was good to see our students not only successful in the classroom, but also in competition as well. The elementary school project has entered the schematic design stage. There's a community forum to allow additional staff members and community members the opportunity to help us to inform the process and help us in the design stage of the new building. The committee of over 25 people that represents board members, staff members, different teaching positions, special education, technology, our architect, construction manager. We have a very good group, a diverse group, representing different areas within our school district, and I really feel good about where we are with the design process right now, as does our architectural firm and design firm, and our construction management firm as well. The LED lighting project, I don't know if you've noticed, but most of the pole lights have been replaced in the parking lots. That saves quite a bit on wattage. We will have a savings coming back to the district because of that. I think they're just about done. They may have a few more lights, but you will notice as you're driving out the difference in lighting, and of course that will be an energy savings for us. On November 26th, we have a school safety day, PD day. It's after Thanksgiving. It's Monday after Thanksgiving. We will have school safety drills with law enforcement. There's a Stop the Bleed, which is a tourniquet application training program that we will be doing. AED and CPR training for those new staff members to our district and those that missed the training last May or April. We will be doing some ALICE training as well, which it's an acronym that stands for Alert, Lockdown, Inform, Counter, and Evacuate. So again, safety is a priority for us, and you have to practice these things, and something that we want to make sure our staff is fully prepared for. In terms of handouts, I did give you a handout with some proposed dates. Tonight on the agenda, we will talk about the organizational meeting, but I don't necessarily want to have a conversation tonight, but allow you to look at some of those dates and see if they work out. They're very similar to last year. And then we need to schedule, Rod and Mark, we need to schedule a policy committee meeting at the end of the meeting tonight. It will not take very long, okay, to actually hold that meeting. So that is my superintendent's report. If there's any questions, I'll be glad to answer those.
I'll be attending OSBA tomorrow.
Okay.
Maybe I should have went today since the weather sounds a little iffy for tomorrow.
I think you'll be all right.
Hey, Sean, in regards to the graduation requirements, that's going to be the subject of tomorrow morning at 8:30.
Okay.
They did have a response out that I just looked in regards to that additional pathway.
Yeah.
So I'll have more information. That's what we need for.
Yeah, I think the big thing right now is putting pressure on the lame duck legislature.
Yeah, it's pretty much what they're saying.
So if OSBA can do that and help us, that would be good. All right, so let's move on to B. There's nothing under B, students and programs. Under 9C, personnel and employment. Number 1, approve substitute list number 4 for November 2018 as submitted by the Fairfield County ESC. 9C2, approve the following high school teachers for WEP, that stands for Written Education Plan, writing payments to be paid at the home instruction hourly rate for the 18-19 school year. In order for us to give credit for servicing gifted students at the high school level, in the middle school level, we have to write written education plans for those students identified as gifted that are in classes that are on our gifted service plan. If we don't have WEPs for them, we do not get credit on the state report card, even though we're providing gifted services for those students. So some buildings will bring in substitutes so the teachers can write those WEPs. These teachers did not, at the high school, they did not want to be out to do that, so Travis has worked with them, and we'll pay them the tutor hourly rate to write those WEPs. Okay? Number 9C3, approve the employment of Christopher Hughes as a long-term substitute for Rachel Gruber, October 31st, 2018 through approximately November 12th, 2018. 9C4, approve of the request of Mandy Brenneman for FMLA leave of absence beginning October 18th, 2018 through approximately January 28th, 2019. 9C5, approve the following classified substitutes for the 18-19 school year as presented, A through E. Number 6, approve the following athletic supplemental contracts for the 18-19 school year pending timely receipt of all verifications and background checks. A and B, Zach Spriggs and Ryan Cheek. Number 7, approve the following volunteers for the 18-19 school year pending successful background check results. And those would be your standard Group A volunteers with background checks on file. Number 8, approve Jessica Storts as a home instructor for the 18-19 school year. She is one of our intervention specialists to provide services where we're required to provide some home instruction hours for students on an IEP. And we have voted on.
Are there any questions on those? Any board members? Seeing none, is there a motion to approve?
So moved.
Thank you. Is there, thank you. Roll call, please.
Ms. Barker?
Yes.
Mr. Abbott?
Yes.
Mr. Bratton?
Yes.
Mr. Johnson?
Yes.
Mr. Millis?
Yes.
Okay, under D, contracts and agreements, approve an MOU with the Fairfield County Educational Service Center for the employment of Angela D. Felice as a transportation aide for the 18-19 school year. And that was one that we've had her in place this year. I think we just missed the MOU on an agenda, on the previous agenda. Okay.
Are there any questions on that, the MOU? Motion, please.
So moved.
Thank you. Second. Second. Thank you. Roll call, please.
Mr. Johnson?
Yes.
Mr. Bratton?
Yes.
Mr. Abbott?
Yes.
Ms. Parker?
Yes.
Mr. Millis?
Yes.
Okay, there's nothing under E, other, and under 9F, personnel resignations and retirements, except the resignation of Thomas Sarsfield as a high school faculty manager for the winter season for the 18-19 school year. And number 2, accept the resignation of Zach Longstreth as a 9th grade boys basketball coach for the 18-19 school year.
Any questions anyone have there? Seeing none, is there a motion to approve that?
So moved.
Second.
Roll call, please.
Mr. Bratton?
Yes.
Mr. Abbott?
Yes.
Mr. Johnson?
Yes.
Ms. Parker?
Yes.
Mr. Millis?
Yes.
10.
A, approve resolution supporting the extension of additional graduation options for the class of 2019, 20, and 21. B, approve the elimination of the storm shelter from the K-5 elementary project in accordance with House Bill 21, effective September 28, 2018. C, approve the resolution selecting engineering firms for the K-5 elementary school project and authorizing agreements for these services. And D, approve January whatever as the date for the annual organizational meeting of the board to be held at 6 p.m. in the middle school library to be followed by a regular session of the board. Is there a date that anyone has in mind?
Yeah, let's talk about that before we go here.
Discussion.
Yeah, so what we would like to propose At the board meeting in January, the second Monday is the 14th. At that board meeting, we do our Student of the Month reception before that, typically at 5:30. We would like to propose doing the organizational meeting at 6 o'clock on the 14th, and then hold our board meeting at 6:30. We don't have to swear any new board members in. You have some dates to look at in advance that will obviously put on the, the agenda for the organizational meeting. They're similar to this year. So that organizational meeting should go maybe a little bit faster than last year. Rather than holding it on like a Wednesday and then coming back a few days later for a Monday meeting. The one thing we have to keep in mind is by law, we're required to hold our organizational meeting within the first 15 calendar days of the year. If we would have a snow day, or just a blizzard or something on the 13th or 14th and we had to cancel that meeting, we'd be in a pickle. But I'd like to kind of pencil in the 15th as a backup date, for the organizational meeting, if that would be okay. So again, we probably won't need the 15th. I just want to have a plan that, we have a meeting that evening of the 15th if we have to cancel on the 14th.
Seems like a lot of times when I was teaching, we always seem to have something bad happen toward the end of January with snow and interrupt semester exams, what have you.
So how does the 14th, kind of try to knock all that out on the 14th rather than a couple of different nights?
I think it's an option. I'm all for it.
You guys are good with it?
I'm good with that.
Okay, so the organizational meeting will be on the 14th at 6 o'clock. And backup date on the 15th, okay?
Okay, any questions about those A, B, C, and D? Seeing none, is there a motion to approve?
So moved.
Thank you. Is there a second?
Second.
Roll call, please.
Mr. Bratton?
Yes.
Ms. Parker?
Yes.
Mr. Abbott?
Yes.
Mr. Johnson?
Yes.
Mr. Mills?
Yes. 11, we have board reports and information, Board of Education liaison updates. Number 1, facility management. We've had some meetings along those lines, I guess, with the building, certainly.
Meetings on Wednesday.
Meeting on Wednesday. Are you gonna be attending, Joe? Okay. Number 2, personnel labor management. Probably something we can discuss in the executive session, but something that Mr. Mills and Mr. Bratton may be included in on with people wanting different contracts. Something to discuss then. 3, OSBA representative. So who were the board members that went today?
It was myself and Mr. Bratton. We were disappointed that you didn't show up today.
Who were you? Wow.
You're going tomorrow.
I'm going
though,
tomorrow,
so-
yeah.
Which, Mark, I think, I know you're part of the legislative committee.
Yeah.
I
I got my little stickers to put on my name tag. I got 3.
The graduation requirements is a big one.
Okay.
I just printed out the handout and I sent it to Sean. Sean sent it over to you, just so you know. As of November 5th, in regards to extending, obviously the General Assembly hasn't done anything in regards to lame duck.
Right.
But that's something, it starts at 8:30 in the morning, Mark, I don't know what
Yeah, I
time it's
did.
in there.
I looked. I said that. I looked just to make sure it's more.
But really, I think that's an important one, just from a
Well, I think
legislative
so.
perspective. But Mr. Bratton and I, we attended a couple, seminars today, training classes, got some good ideas. We talked about beginning of the year from a planning perspective, but overall it's pretty good success. Hung out with the 2 booths that we had up there on the robotics. So it's a productive day overall.
So did you have to keep an eye on that? Mr. Bratton?
He ran away from me.
He ran away from you a couple times? There you go.
He didn't pay for my lunch.
You can take you shouldn't have had to pay for it, but anyway. Did they have rubber chicken as usual?
No, we didn't, we
You
saved
didn't
the
pay?
district a lot of money. We didn't buy it.
Probably not a bad move. Anyway, number 4, policy items. I think we'll be having a meeting soon on that. 5, safety, health, and wellness. Okay. Number 6, finance.
Mr. Johnson, I met with Mr. Bigham, Mr. Hahn, just prior to this meeting, digging in a little bit more to the 5-year forecast or 2-year in particular, and just understanding some nuances within it, and just maybe some of the items that we can change or that we're looking to forecast that he's got in there. So it was a good meeting. I think understanding that a little bit more.
Okay, B, we have upcoming PTO booster and Board of Education meetings. 11-12 athletic boosters. 11-13 middle school PTO. Middle School Media Center. 11:13, Music Boosters Meeting, High School Media Center. 11:14, Elementary Design at 6. 11:21, High School PTO, High School Cafeteria. 11:21, No School, PT Comp Day, and then Thanksgiving through the next 7 days. No school on the 26th, professional development, and 12:10 Board of Education meeting here. Now, first time for you newbies. Number 12, adjourn from regular session and go into executive session for the purpose of discussing the appointment, employment, dismissal, discipline, promotion, demotion, or compensation of a public employee or official.
We actually need a motion.
We need a motion for that.
Yeah.
And we have to write down the time also. So is there a motion to do that?
So moved.
Thank you. Is there a second?
Second.
Thank you. Roll call, please.
Mr. Johnson?
Yes.
Ms. Parker?
Yes.
Mr. Abbott?
Yes.
Mr. Bratton?
Yes.
Mr. Millis?
Yes. And the time is 37. 36.